They came from the smoke. The sky above Outpost 9 was black with smoke. Fire burned in the distance. The air was heavy, and even the soldiers wore masks to breathe. Something had crashed outside the station just 1 hour ago. Now everyone was searching the wreckage. Captain Ray was quiet as he walked through the smoke. He was a tall man with tired eyes and a strong voice. He had seen war before, but today something felt different. He didn't know what, but his gut told him this was not normal. "Captain," a soldier called out. "Over here." Ray ran toward the voice. The soldier was pointing at a broken metal wall. Behind it, something moved. Slowly, Ray stepped closer. He raised his flashlight. There, sitting on the ground, were 2 small alien girls. They were thin, shaking, and covered in ash. Their skin was pale blue, and their hair was silver like moonlight. They had no clothes, only dirty pieces of cloth wrapped around them. Their big eyes stared at the humans in fear. They did not speak. They just hugged each other tightly. The younger one looked about 8 years old. The older one, maybe 10. Both were hurt, their feet bleeding, their bodies bruised. But they were alive. "Are they dangerous?" one soldier whispered. "They're just kids," Ray said softly. But the others didn't agree. "Sir, orders are clear," another soldier said. "Anything non-human must be reported. These could be spies. Or weapons." Ray didn't answer. He knelt down slowly, holding out his hand. "It's okay," he said gently. "No one's going to hurt you." The girls didn't move, but their eyes followed him. Behind them, a small piece of the crashed ship sparked. Then it exploded. Boom! The girls screamed and covered their heads. Ray stepped forward and wrapped his arms around them. "It's okay. You're safe now." The soldiers looked uncomfortable. "They're scared," Ray said. "They don't understand us. But they're not evil." "But what if they were part of the attack?" the commander said on the radio. "Bring them in for testing." Ray stood up. His voice was cold now. "No, I'll take care of them. They need help, not chains." The radio crackled. "That's against protocol." Ray turned off the radio. He looked down at the girls. The older one was still hugging the younger. Her lips moved, but no sound came. She was trying to speak. Ray took off his jacket and wrapped it around both of them. "You're safe now. Come with me." He gently picked them up. They were light, too light, like they hadn't eaten in days. Back inside the station, Ray took them to his private quarters. He gave them water, soft towels, and a warm bed. The girls didn't speak. They just stared at him, confused, but not afraid anymore. Ray sat nearby, watching them. He didn't sleep that night. He thought about his own daughter, lost years ago in a colony attack. Maybe that's why he couldn't leave them behind. In the morning, he brought them simple clothes. The girls touched the fabric like it was treasure. The younger one smiled. Just a little. Ray smiled back. "Do you have names?" he asked. They looked at each other. Then the older girl pointed to herself and made a soft sound. "Zira." Then she pointed to the younger. "Navi." "Zira and Navi," Ray repeated. "Nice to meet you." The girls nodded. Then Zira did something strange. She picked up a piece of paper and drew a symbol with a pen. It was a circle with 3 lines going out like claws. Ray's heart stopped. He had seen that symbol before in secret reports in war briefings. That was the mark of the slavers, an unknown alien race that kidnapped children and turned them into weapons. Ray stared at the girls. They weren't just lost. They were running from something. Someone was after them. And now, maybe coming for Earth too. He looked at them again. So small, so scared, so broken. Ray made a choice. No matter what happened next, he would protect them, even if it cost him everything. He knelt beside them and said, "From now on, I'm your home." She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stared at the stars, like she was searching for a planet that no longer existed. Zira sat near the small window of the room. The blanket around her shoulders looked too big for her thin body. Navi was asleep beside her, breathing softly, holding a stuffed toy Ray had given them. Captain Ray watched from the corner. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just waited. It had been 2 days since the crash. The girls hadn't said a word since telling him their names. Zira, Navi, that was all. Ray had seen many kinds of silence in his life. Some people stayed quiet out of fear, others because of pain. But this silence? This was something deeper. It was the silence of someone who had lost everything. Earlier that day, Ray had taken them to a hidden part of the station, an old room nobody used. He blocked the cameras, locked the doors, and made it safe. They needed time. The outside world wasn't ready for them, and maybe they weren't ready for it either. He cooked food. Simple soup. The girls didn't touch it at first. Then, slowly, Navi reached out and tasted it. Her eyes went wide. She took a big spoonful. Then another. Zira watched, then began to eat too. Ray smiled. Good girls. Still no answer. After they ate, Ray tried showing them pictures, animals, colors, stars. He pointed and said the names. Dog, tree, sky, ship. Navi laughed at the sound of dog. She copied him. Doug. It was the first sound she made. Ray laughed too. That's right. Dog. Zira didn't laugh. But she smiled. Just a little. That night, Ray checked the security feed. The system AI had scanned the wreckage again. No bodies. No tech. Just burned metal and pieces of some alien language etched into the walls. The same language Zira had drawn. Ray zoomed in on the symbol. The 3 claw marks around a circle. Slavers. He had read about them in secret military files. A race that stole children, changed them, trained them, broke them, and used them as living weapons. They didn't conquer planets. They took their future instead. And now, 2 of those stolen lives were sleeping under his roof. Ray felt something inside him twist. Anger? Sadness? Maybe both. The next morning, something strange happened. Zira stood by the mirror, looking at her reflection. Then, with shaking hands, she touched the scar on her neck. It looked like a small mark, almost invisible. But Ray knew what it was. Control chip. He had seen them before on Prisoners of War. Zira caught him watching. For a moment, her eyes filled with fear. Ray didn't speak. He just stepped forward, held out his hand, and gently touched the mirror. Not her. He didn't want to scare her. We'll get it out, he said softly. You're not a weapon. Not anymore. Zira looked at him, then did something that surprised him. She walked to the table, picked up a pen, and began to write. One word. Run. Ray blinked. What do you mean? Zira wrote again. They're coming. Just then, a warning light blinked on the wall. Ray turned to the screen. Alert. Unidentified signal near orbit. Scanning. Unknown ship detected. Ray's blood ran cold. They found us, he whispered. He turned to the girls. Navi was now awake, holding Zira's hand. Ray knelt beside them. I promise to keep you safe, he said. And I will. But we have to move. Now. He opened a secret floor panel and pulled out a small black box. Inside, fake IDs, emergency launch keys, and a map of old escape tunnels beneath the station. Ray gave each girl a jacket and boots. Put these on. Zira hesitated. Bad people follow? She said, her voice barely a whisper. Ray nodded. Yes, but I won't let them take you. Navi looked up. Where we go? Ray smiled. Home. But this not home, Zira said. Ray stood tall. Then we'll find one together. He pressed the launch code into a hidden console. Countdown. 10, 9. The girls held his hands tightly. This time they were not running alone. It started with a sound. Not loud but cold. A soft mechanical ping that echoed through the silence of the deep space station. Captain Ray was already awake. He had learned, long ago, that danger doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And tonight the station was whispering. Ray tapped the wall console beside his bed. The screen glowed blue. A single line blinked. Unauthorized life form detected. Origin, unknown. Movement, slow. Strategic. He stared at the words. Then his eyes flicked to the corner of the room, where Zira and Navi were sleeping, curled up together. Their faces were peaceful, innocent. But they weren't safe. Not anymore. The hidden room Ray had used to keep the girls safe was no longer hidden. The station AI, though old, had scanned something unusual in the system. Life signs that didn't match human biology. It had been quiet until now. 2 days of rest, food, learning. Zira was starting to speak more. Navi had laughed yesterday. Real laughter. Ray had even told himself, maybe we made it. He was wrong. Now someone or something was inside the station, and it wasn't looking for supplies. It was hunting. Elsewhere, in the shadows of Maintenance Bay 12. The figure moved. It wasn't human. Not exactly. Its shape was close, but too perfect, too smooth, and its eyes glowed faint red in the dark. It didn't make noise. No footsteps. No breathing. It touched the walls, reading the heat trails of every person who had passed through this level in the last 24 hours. 2 trails were different. Small, light, unregistered. Exactly what it was looking for. It activated a hidden transmitter in its wrist. Target confirmed. 2 life forms. Coordinates locked. Retrieval in progress. Back in Ray's room, Zira woke with a jolt. She didn't know why. She just felt it. A tightness in her chest. A fear that had no sound, no shape, just a weight. Ray was already packing a small bag. Food, water, medical supplies, a scanner, and the signal jammer. Navi rubbed her eyes. Going again? Ray nodded. Yes, right now. Zira stood up, alert. They're close. Ray looked at her. You feel them? She nodded slowly. Not like voice, like pressure. Behind my eyes. Ray had no time to ask more. The hallway lights outside his room suddenly turned red. Alert. Sector 7 breach. Lockdown in 60 seconds. Come on. Ray grabbed their hands. He led them down a side panel that opened into the air vents. The girls moved quickly, silently, like they had done this before, like escape was in their blood. They crawled for 10 minutes in silence. Then Navi whispered, "Someone behind us." Ray stopped, listened. Nothing. Then tap, tap, tap. Something metal was moving through the vent behind them. Too fast. He looked at the girls. You two go. Left tunnel. Climb up and wait for me by the old shuttle dock. You remember the map? Zira hesitated. What about you? I'll distract it, Ray said. You trust me? Zira stared at him, then slowly nodded. Ray gave them a quick hug. Go. He turned and crawled into the right tunnel. 10 minutes later, Ray jumped out of the vent and landed in the old weapon locker room. He smashed open a storage crate and pulled out a plasma cutter. Just in time, the vent behind him exploded outward, and the hunter stepped through. Its red eyes scanned the room. Locked on Ray. Unauthorized biological contact. It said in a perfect, calm voice. You have taken restricted property. Return them now. Ray aimed the cutter. They're not property. You will not survive this. Maybe not, Ray said. But you won't touch them again. The hunter moved fast, too fast. Ray barely dodged. Sparks flew as metal hit metal. He slashed its leg. It twisted and hit back, breaking the wall behind him. Ray hit the emergency lock. The room flooded with magnetic smoke. The fight became a blur of heat, shadow, and pain. And then silence. Ray crawled out, bleeding but alive. The hunter's body sparked behind him, motionless. He dragged himself to the dock. Zira and Navi were there, waiting, silent, eyes wide. He smiled weakly. Sorry I'm late. Zira looked at his wounds and cried for the first time. We thought. We lost you. Ray knelt and hugged them both. Not yet. Not ever. He pressed the shuttle door open. They were leaving the station. But something told Ray this was just the beginning. The stars looked different from Earth. At least, that's what Zira thought as she stood on the edge of a quiet mountain, staring up at the sky. For the first time in weeks, there was no smoke, no sirens, no hunters, only wind, trees, the sound of birds. She closed her eyes and let the sunlight touch her face. Behind her, Navi was laughing, chasing butterflies with her arms open like wings. She wore real clothes now, soft, clean and warm. A bright red hoodie and blue jeans. Her silver hair bounced as she ran. Captain Ray sat nearby on a rock, fixing a broken scanner. He watched them closely. They had escaped the station. Just barely. He had used an old emergency shuttle, flying low through the atmosphere to avoid detection. It had worked for now. They had landed far from any city. A place Ray once called home. A small hidden cabin in the northern woods, surrounded by trees and silence. To the girls, it was paradise. To Ray, it was a hiding place. And it wouldn't last. That night, they sat around a small fire. Ray cooked rice and beans. Simple but hot. The girls sat on either side of him, warm under blankets, their faces glowing in the firelight. Navi looked up. This Earth. Ray nodded. Yeah, this is Earth. My home. Zira stared at the flames. It's quiet here. For now, Ray said. But quiet doesn't mean safe. Zira looked at him. They're still looking for us. Ray nodded. Yes, and if they find us here, Earth will burn. Later, while the girls slept, Ray turned on the scanner he had fixed. It worked, but just barely. The signal was weak. Still, it found something. A cloaked ship. In low orbit. Not moving. Not broadcasting. Just watching. Ray leaned back inside. So you made it to Earth after all. He recorded a short voice message and sent it to a private channel. Encrypted. This is Captain Ray Holden. I have 2 survivors. Biosignatures unknown but peaceful. We are being tracked by an alien hunter-class ship. Requesting silent support only. Do not engage unless they land. He looked out the window. The stars were still there. But they weren't alone. Somewhere above Earth, aboard the cloaked ship, a figure stood in front of a screen. Its face was half covered by a mask. Cold, mechanical. Behind it, hundreds of files glowed on a holographic wall. 2 profiles blinked in red. Zira. Age, unknown. Status. Escaped. Navi. Age, unknown. Status. Escaped. Warning. Primary weapons still dormant. A second figure entered. Sir, shall we retrieve them? The masked leader answered. No, not yet. Let them believe they are safe. The human is useful. He will activate their potential. But what if they resist? Then we burn the planet. Back on Earth, Ray taught Zira how to use a map that afternoon. She was quick to learn. Sharp. Focused. He noticed how she remembered every path, every landmark. She had the mind of a survivor, but the heart of a child. She drew pictures of the stars in her notebook, wrote new words every day. Navi, meanwhile, collected shiny rocks and gave them names like Moon Rock or Power Stone. She glued them to the wall of the cabin. One of them was just a potato, but Ray didn't say anything. For a moment, life felt normal. But Ray knew better. One night, Zira had a nightmare. She screamed, her body glowing faint blue in the dark. Ray ran in, wrapped his arms around her. It's okay. You're safe. Zira's eyes were wide with fear. I saw them. I saw ships. Fire. I saw Earth falling. Ray held her tighter. It's not real. Zira shook her head. It will be. Ray didn't sleep that night. The next day, everything changed. Ray's scanner blinked. New signal detected. Low-level data leak. Location. Earth. Global. Someone was broadcasting the girl's biosigns. Publicly. Ray's face went pale. That meant satellites. News feeds. Hackers. Governments. And bounty hunters. He stood up fast, heart pounding. They found us. He rushed to the girls. Pack your bags. We leave now. Navi looked scared. Again. Ray nodded. Again. Zira picked up the notebook she had drawn her stars in. Before leaving, she looked at the night sky one last time. I don't think Earth is our home either, she whispered. Ray heard her, and he knew. She might be right. It didn't knock. It didn't speak. Simply arrived. At 12:03 a.m., the cabin door unlocked itself. No sound. No alarm. No footsteps outside. Just click. And the door drifted open, slow and silent, like it had been waiting. Captain Ray was already awake. He had felt something strange an hour earlier. A pressure in the air, cold that didn't belong. He had checked every window, every scanner. Everything had shown nothing, but his gut said something was coming. Now he stood in the hallway, holding a pulse blade in one hand and a flashlight in the other. He stepped toward the open door. Zira and Navi were asleep in the bedroom. He had locked their door from inside, just in case. He moved quietly. No breathing, no talking. The wind outside had stopped. Even the insects were silent. Then he saw it. Not outside the door, but inside the cabin. Standing in the middle of the living room. Tall, thin, wrapped in a dark cloak that flickered like broken pixels. His face was hidden. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth silver mask. Ray stopped. His fingers tightened around the blade. "Who are you?" he asked. The figure didn't move, but its voice came, not from its mouth, but from the walls, the lights, the air itself. "You are sheltering fugitives. Return them. This is your only warning." Ray took one step forward. "You came to my home. At midnight. You didn't knock. And now you're threatening children." Silence. "They are not children. They are assets." Ray's voice went cold. "They're not yours." The figure raised its hand. The lights in the cabin exploded one by one. Ray threw the flashlight, but the figure didn't flinch. Instead, it walked forward, slow, steady, confident. Ray attacked. He moved fast, slicing through the air with the blade. The metal sparked against the creature's cloak, but it didn't bleed. It just absorbed the hit like smoke. Then it hit back. Ray flew across the room and smashed into a wall. He groaned, his ribs screaming. The figure turned toward the girl's bedroom. Inside the room, Zira's eyes opened. She didn't hear the fight. She felt it. Pain. Fear. Something sharp and cruel coming closer. She sat up, heart racing. Navi was still asleep, clutching a stuffed animal. Zira touched her shoulder. "Wake up. Now." Outside, the hallway was glowing blue. Ray's emergency override signal. Zira helped Navi stand. "We have to run," she whispered. But before they could reach the back window, the door melted. The metal didn't break. It melted, like wax in a fire, and the figure stepped in. It didn't walk. It glided, its eyes now glowing under the mask. Zira stepped in front of Navi, shaking, but the fear in her began to shift. Change. Something woke up inside her. Her palms began to glow faint blue. The figure stopped. "Ah, you are awakening, just as we designed you to." Zira's voice was shaking, but strong. "I am not your design." She raised her hand, and a blast of energy exploded from her palm. The wall cracked. The figure was thrown backward into the hall. Ray pulled himself up, blood on his face, and shouted, "Go! Take the tunnel!" The girls ran. Ray faced the figure again. "I warned you," he said. This time he used the EMP charge. A small disc no larger than a coin. He slapped it onto the creature's chest. Flash. The blast shook the cabin. Lights died. Screens burst. The figure twitched, glitching like bad code. Then it collapsed. Ray fell to his knees. Everything was quiet again, but only for a second. Above Earth on the cloaked ship, alarms rang. Hunter Unit 01. Disconnected. The masked leader stared at the screen. "So the girl has begun to awaken," he whispered. Another figure asked, "Do we send more?" The leader smiled under the mask. "No. Now we send a message. Back on Earth." Ray and the girls hid in an old railway tunnel far from the cabin. Cold, wet, silent. Navi leaned against him, half asleep. Zira sat in front of the small fire, staring into it, her hands still glowing faintly. She didn't say anything. She just whispered a question to the fire. "If I'm a weapon, why do I feel love?" Ray heard her. He didn't have the answer, but he placed a blanket over her shoulders and said quietly, "Because you're more than what they made you." Zira looked at him, and for the first time she believed it. She was never with silence. She was not built. The peaceful kind. Zira didn't understand not the warm, what that meant. Early morning kind. Not yet. This silence the memories were coming now, like the world was holding its breath. Flashes. Sarah noticed voices, the birds had stopped singing. Lights above her wind had stopped cold metal. Even the fire beside her had burned down to soft, one of them always coals. Asked the same question. She looked up at Leo. Does it feel staring toward the distant hill? Can it cry? His face didn't know who it was. Not angry. Until she looked not in the mirror. Just they were now alert. Hiding in an abandoned spaceport. She asked. Underground. He didn't answer. Rusted, long then forgotten sound after came. Earth stopped using shuttles for short trips. Then engines. Ray had found it through mechanical an old military contact. Military. No she cameras. Stood slowly. No satellites. Ignoring the pain in her leg. The perfect beyond place the tree line. No one. They appeared. But Zira was starting to feel human like no one too. 6 she soldiers sat in the dark near the edge of the launch deck, hovering like hugging her knees. And at the front, beside her, a tall woman curled in a black under coat. Raised jacket. She wore no helmet. Little face calm. Her face was sharp. Zira stared into the shadows. Leo sighed, and she whispered, Reeve, Captain what am Walker? Ray she stood nearby, she stopped watching a few feet away. Her eyes flicked to Sarah. Zira was changing. Not just powers, true. But thoughts, didn't know there were rumors. And she was scared of it. You didn't report the Valari girl. He was scared too. That's desertion of this duty. Time he called you know that. I didn't report her, not soldiers, Leo said but calmly. An old friend who once worked in Project Aurora, stepped closer. The same secret she's program an alien that studied alien tech and she's bioweapons. A child. Ray thought she's the project had been shut down. Sarah stood straighter. He was wrong. I didn't come to spy. The man arrived at midnight. I didn't even mean gray to survive. Hair, robotic hands. Reeve looked at her tired coldly. Eyes that had your seen kind too much. Doesn't need to mean Ray. Survival itself with a dry is voice. Dangerous. I didn't think Leo you'd ever call me again. She saved my life. Nod. Reeve I have raised an eyebrow. You have did answers. She now? The man her people came back, took Leo one look at Zira and she could have turned me in. So they escaped. She didn't softly. Reeve turned her eyes to Sarah. You knew about them? Sarah swallowed. I helped make them. Because he didn't kill me. Stood up slowly when he had every reason cold. The soldiers behind Reeve whispered. The man looked at her. She raised a hand. Not me. Not alone. This but I was part of it, she said. I didn't know how not wrong a kindness contest until it was too late. Leo clenched his Zira's hands began then to glow. Maybe that's the problem. Faint and blue. For a second, Ray stepped between them. No one moved. He's then here to talk. Pointed to Sarah. Let him. She's the coming. Man knelt down so he was Leo eye level with her. In front of her. Zira, no, you were made she's from a dying race. You're protecting one her. We found drifting in space. Over we your duty, save their planet. I'm protecting the only thing I've seen in this war. DNA, brain data, energy patterns. Reeve turned to Zira, looked confused. Arrest him. Why? 2 soldiers to make something forward. New. Sarah something didn't better. Hesitate. Soldiers. She stepped between them. She held up like hands. He paused. If he goes, but something she happened. Said loudly. You felt. I go too. You chose. Reeve you protected frowned. Each other. What? You weren't I'm just Valari. You were said. Real. You think I'm dangerous. But why take a threat? Us? Why not help? Take me. The man's voice you cracked. Take me instead. Because we let forgot him go. You were alive. Leo's voice we only broke saw slightly. Power. We stopped seeing souls. No. Zira she sat down, breathing not hard. Looking at him. Ray you placed gave me a choice on her shoulder. You saved me. You don't have to be what they made. No one else ever did. You already chose something better. You think Zira we negotiate with aliens? What? No. He smiled gently. Sarah said. You chose maybe to care. You listened to your scanner beeped. She turned to the soldiers, getting closer. You follow orders. The man looked at Ray. Even if they're wrong. Coming. The youngest soldier hesitated. They followed me. Reeve stepped forward. Face turned serious. Enough. How she long? Drew her sidearm. 10 minutes. You both want to die less. For this lie? He turned to Sarah the girls. Looked down the barrel we of the gun. We need to move. Heart pounding. Zira stood She still. Didn't move. Her hands I'm shook. Not afraid of you. Her eyes glowed. She said. Her heart anymore. Pounded in her ears. The gun trembled slightly. No more running. Leo stood beside her now. Ray no turned. Weapon. Zira. No shield. She just looked at him. I don't want to shoot afraid of what I am, he said. She walked to the center of the launch deck. One of the soldiers began to lower his weapon. Her skin shimmered like starlight. Then another. Her voice became steady. You said we fight monsters. Calm. The young soldier said softly. If I was made to fight, but she's not a monster. Then I'll fight for something real. She looked back at Navi and Ray. I'll fight for us. But by then, above her command had vanished. A squad of dropships she was alone. Broke through the clouds. She lowered her gun heading slowly. Straight for the spaceport. This isn't over. But this time, she hissed. Zira wasn't running. Leo she said. Was ready. But it's changing. Reeve walked away without another word. Her boots crushed the fallen leaves like broken promises. Silence returned. Sarah collapsed to her knees, shaking. Leo caught her. You didn't have to do that, he said. I did, she whispered, because for once, I chose what I became. And for the first time, she wasn't caught between 2 worlds. She was building a new one. They thought Earth would break. They had studied this planet, its history, its violence, its weakness for peace. To the enemy, Earth was just another soft world with kind people and soft rules. But then a man said no, and 2 alien girls called him Dad. That changed everything. The dropships cut through Earth's sky like knives, burning across the clouds. 12 in total. Heavy armor. Plasma ready. A full recovery squad built to erase mistakes. Inside one of the ships, a masked commander stared at a glowing screen. On it, 2 red dots. Zira. Navi. Status. Awakened. They've activated. Proceed with capture or termination. But even as he gave the order, he hesitated. Something about Earth felt off. Not weak. Angry. Inside the old spaceport, Captain Ray stood at the center of the launch deck. He wasn't wearing armor. He wasn't carrying big weapons. Just a worn-out coat and an old Earth flag patch stitched to his shoulder. Beside him stood Zira, glowing faintly, eyes bright with quiet fire. Navi held Ray's hand, watching the ceiling shake as the ships approached. Zira didn't look scared anymore. She looked ready. You sure about this? Ray asked. Zira nodded. They want to finish their story. Ray raised a brow. And what's our story? Zira looked up at the cracking ceiling. They made me to destroy things. You taught me to protect them. Navi stepped forward. So let's protect. The first enemy ship landed hard. Its doors opened, and out stepped armored drones, tall and silent, marching in formation. But before they could scan the room, Zira raised her hand, and for the first time she didn't hold back. The blast wasn't just power. It was grief, anger, and love made real. The ground shook. The air burned blue. The first wave of drones melted mid-step. Up on the hill, a group of human satellites suddenly activated. Ray's message, sent days ago, had been quietly passed through back channels. Now, hidden bunkers across Earth came online. Former soldiers, engineers, scientists, civilians. They didn't ask who the girls were. They only asked one thing. Is Ray Holden still standing? The answer came back. He's not just standing, he's fighting. And so, humanity joined in. Jammers activated. Tracking systems blinded the enemy fleet. Ray's old unit hacked the orbital signals and fed the alien ship false locations. The attackers were fast, but Earth was smarter. Because this wasn't just a war. This was family protecting its own. Back at the spaceport, Zira fell to her knees, exhausted. Her energy flickered. Navi helped her up. We're not done yet. Ray looked up. The final dropship hovered above, aiming plasma weapons. Fired. Ray stepped forward to shield the girls. But nothing came, because something had intercepted it. A human fighter jet. Old rusty, barely flying, but it fired first. A direct hit. The enemy ship exploded in the air. The fire reflected in Zira's eyes. Ray turned to her. Still think Earth isn't your home? Zira smiled for the first time. No, I think it's the only home that ever wanted me. Hours later, the fires stopped. The skies cleared. The enemy ship left orbit, damaged, defeated, and afraid. They came to capture weapons. They left running from a species they thought was weak. But Earth didn't fight for power. It fought for people. In the silence that followed, Ray sat under the stars again, just like in part 1. Zira leaned on one side. Navi slept on the other. They were tired, but safe. And this time they weren't hiding. They were simply home. They weren't human by blood, but they were human by choice. And when the universe turned its back, one man opened his door and said, "Both of you, come home."